Wherefore, Series 3, Episode 17. It is a bright May morning at the dawn of the day. This May morning is so charming that you might be forgiven for thinking you have fallen into a folk song. A wild innuendo could cross the path at any moment. Anything you say or do could turn into a euphemism. The trees are indeed full of small birds singing. There are green leaves in the valley below, and so on, and so forth. A bear and a beaver are walking down a lane. This isn't a euphemism, nor is it the beginning of a joke. A bear and a beaver are walking down the lane. They aren't sure where the lane is, or why they are walking down it. The bear can talk perfectly well like this, but the beaver can't, so the bear suggests they duck into a field and sit in the shade and have a chat. In order to have the chat, they have to take their skins off, which means being naked, but this definitely isn't one of those traditional May songs. Well, this is confusing, Naris says, once she's taken off her skin. It's a bit of an art to removing a beaver skin in order to be a slightly larger human, but she's had a fair amount of practice now. You may recall that last time we saw Naris's body, it was lying unconscious on her bed while her beaver spirit self wandered about in the ditches of Ditchley Yat. You will no doubt be pleased to hear that her human body looks well and solid. You may be wondering about the technical details. Feel free to carry on with that. Naris has had a strange time of it in recent years with the whole shape-shifting malarkey. Part of what's happening is that she is growing into her own power and becoming better able to manage her various selves. I don't think we're in Ditchley anymore, Ursula says, having taken off her bear skin in solidarity. Also, this is the kind of May morning when being naked in a field with your girlfriend just feels like the right way to go. I don't think we're in Kansas either. That's as well, says Naris. I feel we should have got a vote with regards to whether or not we would be in Ditchley. I don't think Ditchley works quite like that, Ursula says. Do you think we offended it in some way? No. I think it just gets a kick out of messing with people. We have been well and truly messed with, and now it's done with us and we have to get back to our lives as best we can. I wouldn't mind a break from turnips, Naris says. She may have eaten enough turnips to last her the rest of her life. There is a whistling sound from the lane side of the hedge. It has more going for it in terms of enthusiasm than it does tunefulness. Either that or someone is trying to whistle a hip-hop number. Naris tucks in closer to the hedge. Ursula peers through it. Bloody hell, she says. You don't see thighs like that very often. She stands up and watches the near-perfect buttocks of Lars Huckington, powered by the legendary thighs of Lars Huckington, as he rides his bike and trailer down the lane. He is oblivious to the two naked women behind the hedge. It wouldn't matter if he hadn't seen them. Lars is not the sort of chap to be troubled by nudity, or by people gawking at his thighs. Lars is in fact the sort of chap to believe that nature is good, natural is good, and therefore naked is good. He has the kind of cheerful naivety that depends on not knowing just how many toxic, poisonous, venomous, and otherwise fatal kinds of nature there are. Fortunately for Lars, Ursula is not in an educational mood. She is entertained by the view of his cycling self, but does not want his attention. What are we going to do? Naris asks. Go back and see what kind of mess we're in, I guess, Ursula says. Most of her life has been a bit of a shambles, so she is not unduly worried by the prospect of another round. What am I going to say to my mother? She's probably been going spare. Naris has spent the whole time feeling guilty about her mother, but Ditchley Yat is not big on phone signals or postal services, and she has singularly failed to make contact or explain her absence in any way. She is also fairly sure that her human body spent a while just sleeping and then disappeared to join her, and that her mother has probably found this difficult. Alien abduction? Ursula suggests. She seems to be the type to find that plausible. She'd buy that, Nerys agrees. I just don't think I could face the relentless questioning about it, or who she'd want me to talk to. Is there anything you could tell her that wouldn't play out that way? Ursula asks. Nerys thinks about this. Her mother is good at believing things, but not in a reliably helpful sort of way. What would Caroline believe, but also not want to interrogate her over? I could tell her I ran off on a whim to do an accountancy course, she says. They look at each other. Ursula shakes her head. I don't reckon she'd buy that. No, you're right, says Nerys. I'm just going to have to endure the guilt and the questions and the extra guilt. And all the fun of finding out if there's one or two of her now. Ursula adds. Oh God, don't remind me. Nerys can only hope that the were-rhubarb thing has somehow magically worn off and that her mother is now a single entity again. It's not an entirely irrational hope, all things considered. So the next question is, do we take the shorter route and wander down the road in our fur? Do we go naked? Take the long way? Do we wait for it to get dark? Ursula asks. Oh, shit, says Nerys. Normally the shift from beaver to human was more of an astral thing in the past and did not result in actual naked body issues. These recent changes are still unfamiliar, and in Ditchley no one thought anything of her wandering around as a beaver. They probably wouldn't have worried about the naked human variant either, but Nerys is no kind of exhibitionist. Ditchley yet was strange, but in many ways far less complicated than the other valleys. Neither of them is really keen to get back to normal, or to find out what normal looks like right now. How much do you think will have changed? Ursula asks. Too much, says Nerys. Or not enough. Or somehow both. Sounds legit, says Ursula, as she tugs her bearskin back on.